Voters in Georgia turned out in record numbers as the battleground state opened early voting for the November 5th presidential election. Georgia had posted a record turnout for the first day of early voting within 6 hours of polls opening, where 16 electoral votes are up for grabs. In many states, early voting is already underway. Georgia's Secretary of State said at least 234,000 votes have already been cast, more than any single day in 2022. Georgia is one of the number of US states that allows voters to cast their ballots in person before the election. Meanwhile, a Fulton County judge in Georgia ruled that certifying elections is a required duty of a county election board, and also they are not allowed to reuse the results based on suspicion of miscounts or fraud. US President Joe Biden rallied support for Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign at a Philadelphia event, urging voters to elect her as the next leader of the country. During her speech, Biden took direct aim at former President Donald Trump and called him a loser. The president also criticized Trump's rhetoric on immigration, accusing him of stoking racism and invoking ideas from the past century.
Trump's whole come down to demonizing immigrants. Call immigrants animals, saying they don't have good genes, saying they poison the blood of our country. It's sick. You know, it's designed to prey on our worst fears. It's un-American. Think about it. Trump hides all his racism, or used to, but now it's just out front. He has the same ideas on race as the 1930s. Trump's ideas in the economy are from the 20s. Trump's idea in women are from the 50s. And folks, this is 2024. We can't go back. We've made too much progress. We have to keep moving forward.
All right, Amritpal Singh is joining us from California. Amrit, how is the election fever there picking up with some states already in progress when we talk of early voting?
That's right. Early voting is a phenomena in the US politics where the states allow people to vote early. They have different set of rules, as in, some states allow absentee voting. Then you need an excuse that why you are voting early, which could range from injury to physical illness, or you're out of the county doing vacationing or for business. But other states allow mail-in voting. They send you the ballot on mail, and you can do. So that's the concept of early voting. Many states have already become, some states began like Virginia, South Dakota, etc. way back in September. Georgia opened the early voting today. Now Georgia becomes increasingly interesting because Georgia is a swing state here, a battleground state, a very close contest is playing out in Georgia, and the kind of numbers that you saw today, the latest numbers that I have till about 4 hours ago, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is that 250,000 people had already cast their votes, both mail-in and in person. So that is a great turnout, and that signifies the contest is very, very close. Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have been campaigning hard. Kamala is going to campaign on Saturday once again. Donald Trump was in Atlanta, the capital of Georgia, yesterday, campaigning there. So, they are trying to woo voters in the last bit. Yes, Preeti.
All right, so they are leaving no stone unturned to woo the voters. Amrit, what is it that the voters are exactly looking for when they go out to vote? What are the issues, dominant issues?
Okay, there are multiple issues. Economy, of course, tops the charts of all the people that I've spoken to. A cross-section of society, age, race, gender. The cost of living is a big issue for them. Today I went to the San Francisco University where I met young students. They said getting education is very, very difficult and expensive. The cost of housing is very expensive. Here where I am in San Francisco, there is a huge housing crisis. There are a lot of homeless people lying out on the streets. So economy is a big issue. Wages are not corresponding. Inflation is at an all-time high. In fact, the latest Pew Research says that 81% of Americans feel their economy is the single biggest issue that affects them. The cost of living is really affecting them. The other issues, of course, are what Donald Trump's favorite is migration, what he's been vilifying migrants, especially illegal migrants. When he was in Atlanta, he said they are taking away black jobs. Remember, there is a concentration of black people, especially people from the black community or the colored community in Georgia. They form about 1/3 of the population there. So that's what both parties are trying to root. So that is one issue. Donald Trump has gone on to call immigrants rapists and murderers. So the Biden campaign that you saw today he was saying that he's a man who's dangerous for the United States, and he's vilifying the migrants, because migrants traditionally have been the vote bank of the Democrats. And then, of course, reproductive rights and abortion, the wall. So these are some issues that matter to people here. Preeti?
All right, Amrit, also help our viewers understand the concept of swing states and how do they affect the election process there?
That's a very interesting question. Now, in US, what happens, there are 50 states, and of course, then there is Washington, D.C., which has 3 seats. So 51 in total, if you were to count Washington, D.C. as a state, though it's technically a federal capital territory, but it's a voting unit, which has 3 seats, of course. And okay, now what happens is that some states traditionally vote for certain parties. They are the ones who vote for the Republicans are called the red states. They are mainly Midwest. The coastal states, both the East Coast, if you look at the East Coast, Maine, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, these are some of the states which are the blue states. The Midwest, on the western coast, you have Washington, you have California. They are what the blue states. They traditionally vote for these parties. Now, there are some states which decide at the last moment and go either way. They are called the swing states or the battleground states. This time around, there are 7 swing states, which include, of course, Georgia, Pennsylvania with 19 votes is the biggest swing state. Then you have Nevada, you have Arizona, you have Wisconsin, you have Michigan. So these are what the swing states are, and that's why Georgia is very important. Penn State or Pennsylvania is the most important because it has the largest numbers. So Georgia, Arizona, Penn State, I think would really be the states which will decide who the next president of the United States would be.
All right, Amrit, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with